Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're talking about a $35. This structure deck cost me $12.99 where I was at. So it's $13. 13 times 3 is $39. So $40 structure. I mean, honestly, though, this structure deck is worth that $12.99 price point. If you guys are hesitant, don't be. There's a lot of amazing reprints in here. And overall, it's a great deck. And you're probably wondering, if you're like me sometimes, I've picked up 3 structure decks, gone to my local, see what I can do. This is only using the cards from the structure deck profile. I will have an updated list in due time. This was my first real testing with this deck. So if there's some like, whoa, that's a little bit off base type of thing, keep in mind that I only use the cards from the structure deck. And this was really my first time playing this. I really enjoy fusion-based archetypes, and I really think this is going to be one of the best decks of the format. And I'm going to try my darndest to give you guys a very budget-friendly version of this deck, which I think will be possible because a lot of the cards are in the structure deck. But this is the 3 structure deck challenge for the Fallen of Albaz structure deck that just came out today. Well, yesterday, actually. But for starters, 3 copies of Fallen of Albaz. This is the heart and soul, bread and butter of the deck. You desperately, desperately, desperately need this card. It's just got everything revolves around this card. That's why we're also running 3 copies of Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. When this card is on the field or in the graveyard, it's another Fallen of Albaz. It also has a very solid effect where you can start to recycle some of your cards. You can get access to your spells and traps if you're running them. At least get them into the graveyard, and you can also summon this out. 2,500 attack isn't horrible. Obviously, there's an Albaz fusion monster that can use this as material, but this is 6 copies of Fallen of Albaz. That's what we're maximizing on all of these cards here. 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Mercurier, if I said that correctly. It's just an absolutely phenomenal card. It has this effect where if opponent's monster activates an effect while you control a fusion monster that has Fallen of Albaz as material, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and negate that effect. Right, so this is one of the newer cards. It has an effect if it's banished as well, which is super duper fantastic. But it's really that first effect, just another form of disruption. And since it's a hand trap, our opponents can't play around it. Obviously, if it's on the board, they can play around it. But like, let's say, because it's very similar to like Solemn Strike, Divine Wrath, Lost Wind. But my opponent can see that. My opponent can see that I'm running, that I have a trap card set. They can't see this coming, and we just hit them with it. And it's a really good card, considering it came from a structure deck. 3 copies of Springengan's Kit. What's the main thing you want to do with this card is tutor out to your, obviously, your spells and traps. You can cut this card, not really run as many, and run more of the spells and traps if you'd like. I just personally like searching for the cards and using those slots for other cards. It's also a free body. Obviously, there's no link monsters in the structure deck, so that doesn't matter too much. But it is going to get you to a good spot. I mean, 1700 attack, level 4 is really solid. But it is going to get you to a spot to where you can search out all of your branded spells and traps, which is fantastic. But that's it for the archetype-specific cards. 3 copies of Starlead's Seyfried. I just mentioned this earlier when I was talking about this card. This card searches this card. It actually also searches this card, right? So this card is just one of the main searchers, if not the main searcher, as far as like non-archetype specific searchers are concerned. This is a fantastic card for the archetype, and it can get a bit wonky if you draw too many monsters, but this card can really save you in a lot of different spots, especially because we don't really care if, our monsters go to the graveyard, because we can fusion someone from the graveyard. We can add back from the graveyard. There's a lot we can do from the graveyard. 3 copies, Keeper of the Dragon Magic. I didn't have this card in the first set of playtesting. I actually added it later. The main reason for that is because this card is also going to tutor out Fallen of Albaz, right? And it's also going to search as well. So we're going to get this card in and of itself is a 1.5 card combo for a fusion monster. Like, this card is a 1-card starter. And it always has been, obviously. There's a lot of different decks that can run this card super duper well. And this deck is one of them. What's even better, though, level 4 Dark Dragon monster, 1800 attack. Fits right in, level 4 dragon. level 4 winged beast, or beast, excuse me, level 4 winged beast, level 4 dragon. So it fits right in with all of those cards right in and of itself, which makes it even better. But also the fact that he can search is just so good. 3 Ghost Ogre, 3 Veilers, maximizing on hand traps. These are in the structure deck, so you might as well maximize on them, you know. And these, the thing is too, these are really good right now. These are hitting Sword Soul cards. I think these can pop the Adventure Continuous spell. Don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure the interaction there. I haven't played against too much Adventure just quite yet. But Veiler is really, really solid. There's a lot of great cards, you know, Anaconda, Halka-Fibrax, Dalagda, all the Floanderies, all the Sword Soul cards. So you want to maximize on those. And that's it for the monsters. No, Levianair almost made the cut. Just felt like it got a little bit too cluttersome. And that was why I decided to cut that card. For the spells, 3 Branded Fusion. Should be obvious. This is your main fusion spell. It's also searchable off of Keeper of the Dragon Magic because it does say fusion, and it is a normal spell. 2 copies of Branded in White. This is our secondary. This is our Miracle Fusion or Fright for Fusion, whichever you want to go with. But you have to use Fallen of Albaz, obviously. But it's another fusion card. Like, you can only activate 1 copy of Branded Fusion per turn. You can also only activate 1 copy of Branded in White per turn. But you can activate them both in the same turn. So that's why we're trying to maximize on that. 1 Branded Bond, 1 Branded Lost, because they are searchable. And that's what I was saying. You could run these at 2 and maybe cut out some copies or all copies of Kit. I just like searching for my spells, and that's why I'm only running 1. Also keep in mind, Branded Bond as well as Branded in White, they do set themselves after they've been activated. And Branded Lost is a continuous spell. That's why you can run it at 1, because once you search it, unless it obviously gets MST, Harpies, Lightning Storm, whatever, if it doesn't get dealt with, it'll just stay on the field. 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Just like the hand traps, we have them, so let's run them. What's also great, too, is that the structure deck has 6 fusion monsters in it. So if you do this challenge, you get 3 structure decks, put them together, you'll have 18 monsters. You can't even run that many. So you do want to maximize on that, even though it's a little bit redundant, so you can activate as many Pot of Extravagance as possible. Solid reprint. 1 Called by the Grave because it's at 1 on the ban list. And then for the traps, 3, there can only be 1, and 2 Warning Point. I actually really like Warning Point. It's probably not the greatest card in general, but it is a cool form of disruption. It's another monster effect negation, and it has the kind of like the Contacting the Sea or Counter Sea or whatever sea card that is, that stops it from being used as fusion, Xyz, and synchro material. That's really good. It's just a cool form of disruption. This could be Chaos Dragon Levianair. I have to do a little bit more playtesting with that, but I like this card a little bit better because Levianair requires setup. Whereas there can only be 1 is such a powerful card, and a lot of our monsters are different attributes. A lot of the main deck monsters are dragons, but the fusion monsters are a little bit different. So there can only be 1 super good against Sword Soul, not really good against Branded, but pretty good against a lot of decks right now. That's it for the main deck. For the extra deck, nothing too crazy. 3 copies of Lebuian, the Searing Dragon. Essentially, this is going to be your main guy that you're going to summon. You know, Keeper is going to search Branded, going to summon Albaz. Keeper is a dark, so this is the guy we're going to bring out. And we can also shuffle those back to make this card. 3 copies of Sprind Iron Dash Dragon. Now, what's cool about this card is it allows you, if you fusion summon it, you can discard a card to shuffle back in our Keeper and our Fallen of Albaz to bring out this card. You can shuffle back any monster to summon out a level 8 or lower fusion monster, or level 8 or level 8 or lower, excuse me. And this card's good going second. This deck actually in general is really good going second. And there's probably a going second build of this same type of strategy where you're running the Kaijus, Dark Ruler no more, because this card says you can move it and blow up all the cards in the column, right? So you can get 2 really good pops on your opponent's side, or even just 1, and that's really solid. Also, this card floats. This card also floats, but it floats into spells and traps. This also has this effect where you can discard to summon a level 8 or lower fusion monster, which is super cool. And then we're only running 2 copies of the remaining ones. This one, can't be destroyed by a battle, is okay. Can't be targeted is okay, and it floats, that's okay. This one also floats. Gains attack, which isn't good. Unaffected by a monster special from the extra deck is okay. And then it also floats, right? And then we are running 2 copies of the Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. I guess I didn't say these cards' names. Because they've been around for so long, I guess it didn't really matter. I'll say them though, and I don't really pronounce names well. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. But Titan Clad, the Ash Dragon, Brigand, the Glory Dragon, Albion, the Branded Dragon, Brigand, the Glory Dragon, Sprin, the Iron Dash Dragon, and Libyan, the Searing Dragon. I know I said his name. But this card is probably the best fusion monster. And there are cards that allow you... Oh, the Fallen of Albaz allows you to interact with your opponent's cards. So this was going to out your opponent's monster, and as well as summon itself out, and going to be a card that's going to banish. The main reason why... Also, by the way, when it floats, it destroys all monsters your opponent controls. The only reason this isn't at 3, this could very easily be a 3 of, and you cut this guy down to 2, or you cut this guy down to 2, doesn't matter. The reason though I'm only running it at 2 is because it is restricted to only 1 card on the field. But that's all I have for you. Like I said, it's about 40 cards at this point. It's not really 30 or $40 at this point, not really 30 at this point. Just because of the inflation, as well as the fact that this is one of the best structure decks of all time. And I actually do think it's worth that $13 price point. So if you bought 3 structure decks, you could build this deck, and you'll do an absolutely phenomenal job. I will have an updated list with all cards accessible a little bit later. I'm gonna try to lean more towards budget, but we'll see how well I can do with that. But let me know what you guys think of those comments down below. Make sure you guys click that like button to show your support for the channel, and subscribe for even more content. But most importantly of all, have a good day.